Alright, what's going on guys, it's Apoqsi, and Cyberpunk 2077 just got more unfortunate news as CD Projekt Red has quietly updated the Cyberpunk 2077 roadmap, and it's not looking good. So, let's talk about that. The Cyberpunk 2077 updates roadmap has quietly been changed following the recent delay of the next-gen upgrades for both Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3, and it's not looking like good news. Based on the roadmap, the last thing on the docket for 2021 is patch 1.31, which previously released back on September 14th. If this new roadmap by CD Projekt Red is accurate, that would mean no further updates for the game until Q1 of 2022. We're talking another 2 months of no updates. Now, this isn't guaranteed. This roadmap could have been poorly designed, or they could drop a surprise update, but this roadmap is a huge cause for concern if it is accurate, as it would mean over a 3.5 month wait from patch 1.31 to the next patch for Cyberpunk 2077, which is a ridiculously long amount of time between updates, especially when you consider the fact that people were already frustrated with the 1 to 2 month wait between previous updates. This is not good news for the community or CD Projekt Red. It doesn't help that they've pushed back this roadmap multiple times, promising content, and they haven't quite delivered as much as people were led to expect. As with the first update, it showed that almost all of 2021 was going to include multiple updates and improvements beyond Update 1.2, which had released back in March, free DLCs, and the next-gen console updates. We've gotten 5 updates since, with 2 of them being small hotfixes, so you can technically say that they delivered on multiple updates, just not as many as people would have expected over the course of a year. The next big update in the roadmap pushed things further into 2021, but it was still going to include not only numerous patches and updates, but also free DLCs in the next-gen edition in the second half of 2021. Patch 1.22 listed on this roadmap released in April, and we've received 3 updates since. Still no free DLCs up until the next roadmap, or even any meaningful changes at that point. Essentially just bug fixes, which, yeah, the game desperately needed. Another update to the roadmap showed patch 1.3, which was marked to include free DLCs, which, while rather lackluster, they delivered on that promise. The issue with this particular roadmap is that it still showed that there would be more free DLCs set to release in 2021 ahead of 2022, following patch 1.3. And again, the next-gen console update. And now we have the latest roadmap, which says we not only won't be getting any more free DLC ahead of 2022 like what was shown on the previous roadmap, but there won't be any updates at all. The shift in the roadmap also gives us a good indication that the first paid expansion will likely be pushed into at least the second half of 2022, as the game has a long way to go with polishing and reworks of gameplay features. CD Projekt Red's lack of any meaningful communication for the future of Cyberpunk 2077 hasn't helped the situation either. It's one thing to make false promises, but it's another thing to not give the community any information whatsoever on what you plan on doing to address their concerns and criticisms over the game. To be clear, this is not a developer issue, it is 100% a management issue. We have no idea if they plan on improving AI, fleshing out many half-baked features such as NCPD using vehicles, adding back cut content, or if they even plan on adding stuff like New Game Plus for players that have already 100%ed the game and have nothing left to do. All we keep hearing is, we plan to fix the game, with no details on what that actually means. Does that just mean bug fixes, or does that also include the addition of new features and content that should have been in the game at launch? We also have no idea what the future of free DLCs will look like. Will that include stuff like new player homes, New Game Plus, or is it just going to continue being cosmetic items that most people don't care about? Don't get me wrong, the new car, the new clothing is exciting, but there needs to be more than that. Now, obviously, I don't think that they should overshare details on what they're working on, as I don't want them to overhype updates like they did with the game and patch 1.3. And I most certainly don't want to know anything about the DLC until it's just ahead of release, as nobody wants more false promises and delays. But just knowing what specific criticisms CD Projekt Red is going to address for the game would be a great starting point to kick off some communication with the community. It would even be great to get clarification on what extent they're going to go with fixing the game. Again, does that only include bug fixes, or does it also include much needed features that were clearly meant to be in the game at launch. This game truly did launch long before it was ready. We know almost nothing about the future of Cyberpunk 2077 and how much CD Projekt Red plans on fleshing it out. We haven't heard a single thing they plan on doing to improve it beyond bug fixes and minor quality of life improvements, which isn't going to fill the sort of holes that will remain in the game. This silent treatment just doesn't seem to be working in favor of CD Projekt Red, as it's just resulting in people giving up hope on the game after expecting big updates all this time and never receiving any form of meaningful additions after waiting months each time for the next patch. The game is closing in rapidly on its 1-year anniversary, and again, we've only really gotten bug fixes and minor quality of life updates like the change to the minimap. The free DLC didn't exactly win people over either, as it was just a reskin for Johnny that most people didn't like, a car, and some clothing. None of that really gives people a reason to come back to the game, which is what Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red need. Don't get me wrong, the game desperately needed the bug fixes and quality of life improvements, but the long 1 to 2 month waits between those patches, no details on when or if they'll make meaningful additions to the game, and no features mixed in with those bug fix patches, it's just not enough to keep most people engaged and invested in the future. The quiet change to this roadmap that insinuates no updates for the next few months just makes things even worse. It doesn't help that a lot of people also think that the next-gen upgrade for Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a meaningful upgrade to the game itself, much like they're doing for The Witcher 3. After all, they did have to delay it to 2022, but it's specifically worded as a free next-gen console update, which makes it sound like every other next-gen console updates from other publishers that just simply increase those quality settings on console to be closer to PC settings, as it's specified as a console update and not for PC, which makes it nothing like The Witcher 3 next-gen upgrade that will be released for all platforms. Don't get me wrong, I still look forward to the future of this game. I enjoyed my time with it and might even play it one more time while waiting for updates. But there's just so many small things missing or half-baked that it really pulls you out of the experience, at least in my opinion. The more you play this game, the more you see the amount of holes there are in the experience. Now, of course, the lack of updates until 2022 could be a good thing. That is, if it means that they're taking the time to make a significant update with new features and content. But that's not something that has been suggested by CD Projekt Red, so making that assumption could be dangerous for creating high expectations when there shouldn't be any at all. We haven't had any real indication that they plan on doing any massive overhauls, sort of like what were done for No Man's Sky. But if they can pull a Hello Games with Cyberpunk 2077 and drop some massive updates, releasing features that were cut and polishing up certain features that were half-baked, this game can easily recover. But until that point, I don't think anyone should be expecting large updates beyond bug fixes and small cosmetic DLC. I think stuff like New Game Plus is inevitable, but when we'll actually see that sort of thing remains to be known. Now, with that said, I want to know your thoughts on this updated roadmap down in the comment section below, as I'm sure some of you have strong feelings on this leaning one way or the other. Of course, I'll continue bringing you the latest on Cyberpunk 2077, which will hopefully be some good news in the future. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please smack that like button down below, subscribe during the fight if you haven't already, and ring that bell icon to stay updated on all of my future videos. It'd be super greatly appreciated as always. And until next time, this is Apoqsi, signing off.